Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to day 11. Donald Trump, you are fired. Protest campaign. Boy, I feel like most of us are impressed with the heat right now. I am impressed with how much energy it drains from a person to have to face this stuff. I got really upset yesterday. Um, I didn't even link the video because I spent a lot of time as an angry person when I was young, and I don't like getting angry. And I'm reconnecting with my meditation practice. I had not been doing it for several days, and starting back today. It's wonderful. But I was exhausted. I came home, I got home before 6 p.m. and I think I was asleep by 6 p.m. Took like a 3-hour nap. I'm joined tonight by this little guy. This is amaranth. This is a type of outdoor plant. And my understanding is in literature, especially classical literature, this kind of plant is often contrasted with the brief incandescent beauty of the rose, because this is a hardy plant which will put down seeds and return, and so it's sort of it's associated with like long life and even immortality. And I've been fascinated with it for many years because I write science fiction, and Amaranth is the name of a place in the 22nd century where I've been building part of a story. It's not all that much of it's set there, but it's in the future version of New York City. There's a place. And now I have two. And perhaps tomorrow I'll bring in the other one. This one is called, I think, Hopi Red Dye. But, yeah, I wanted to bring him inside. It's cool. Never owned any amaranth before this, and the other one I got two. I said last night I wanted to share something, and I do. Something I just submitted to a competition, a piece that I've written that I've never read before to any audience because I can't get through it without crying. I never have. I kind of hope that I do tonight because, well, I'd like to just read it. But first I want to say something, because I've been hearing some of the things that people who actually met the man, like that Capitol Police officer Fanon, so also Italian, like me. I maybe mentioned last night, I'm here with towels on my vintage mid-century couch that I'm very fond of because I got sunburned on Saturday and I'm kind of covered in lotion, so pardon my attire. I just threw something on, but I don't want to mess up my couch with this greasy lotion I have on my skin. I do tan, but I have to kind of burn through the Irish to get to the Italian. Usually get torched like once a year, and then I'll tan. And I got pretty thoroughly torched doing yoga outside on Saturday. But I try to give benefit of doubt. One guy I saw posting a video reposted about his story experience with Lindsey Graham. And I was very happy, and I wrote a comment, well said, that's well said. He said, I don't think dancing on someone's grave is wise. So it's not his exact words, but that's what he meant. He did use the phrase dancing on someone's grave. And that's all I mean when I think I said last night, if you happen to watch that video, or maybe it was 2 nights ago, I don't know. This is taking a toll on me. This is a lot. I've got to do this 89 more times in a row. Because I said I would, but yeah, he was a terrible politician, and we're seeing what I have talked about before, that I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this, that pity is the appropriate response for these people who have done a 180, have done like a donut on the front lawn of standing up to this beast in the White House. Then you see immediately that their legacy is just dragged through the mud. My heart goes out to his family, because it would be, I think I would feel ashamed. But I maintain that, like I had said originally, like I give benefit of the doubt, the man probably believed in what he was doing. He probably believed he was doing the best he could with what he was given to work with. But he was a terrible politician. And I think pity is the appropriate response, because people like him, like Mitch McConnell, who it is seeming more and more likely is either incapacitated permanently or is no longer with us in the land of the living, and even Trump, who the Chinese call Chuanpu, which I think is, perhaps if you had to call him a name, that was probably the most appropriate name to call him. Chuanpu rhymes with swamp almost. You look at what's happened to like the ground surrounding the White House. I saw an aerial photo today. I don't think it was AI. Or maybe it was last night I saw an aerial photo because I couldn't sleep. I was up late. And it's like, yeah, it looks like he turned it into like a demolition derby. Like it's just this mud pit. It's like the land is looks like it's literally rotting in his vicinity. But all of these people, I don't think that it has crossed their minds much that they are headed for, there is really no brighter tomorrow in which they're not lambasted in classroom textbooks as being some of the worst examples of how to do modern life that we hope we will ever see. That's why I pity people like them, like Lindsey Graham. I pity them. Because you can see that how weak their hearts are, how weak their integrity is. They can be bought. They can go from, even the vice president was an outspoken critic of this beast we have in our midst, running the country, and did a 180 on it, and is now, a champion of this madness. And even if we were to invoke the 25th Amendment, then we would have someone like that, someone who's like a will-o'-the-wisp, leading us. It's really a shame, but pity is the appropriate response, and the reason for this, someone else I encountered on social media in the last couple of days was saying, so how long is it until Frodo throws the ring into the cracks of doom? They didn't say cracks of doom, that's how it's regarded, how Tolkien actually describes it. In the book, in the films, it's the fires of Mount Doom they talk about, but it's in the book, it's the cracks of doom. How long is it until Frodo gets the ring to the mountain? And I chimed in and I said that the interesting thing, and I think that the message of the end of the ring, the One Ring, is, excuse me, excuse me, things that are evil oftentimes function like a negative, like some sort of negative charge, like a negatively charged particle, like an electron. And oftentimes what we find is they meet another negatively charged particle and they cancel each other out. Like a double negative becomes positive. Mathematics. You multiply two negative numbers together, you get a positive number. -2 times -2 is 4. Because 4 divided by -2 is -2. The negatives cancel. And in the films, they gave this line to the wizard Gandalf in the Fellowship of the Ring. When Gollum is following them in Moria. Oh, and I'll have some things to say about the Balrog soon. I've talked about the Balrog in other episodes before this campaign, but Frodo realizes they're being pursued, and he says it's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance, and Gandalf says, pity. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Do not be so quick to deal out death and judgment. Or he says something like, not all those who live deserve, or not all those who die deserve life, and not all those who live deserve death. Can you give it to them, Frodo? Do not be so quick to deal out death and judgment. That's not I'm getting very close, but that's very close to what he exactly says. And that's also very close to what is actually said in the book. I just very recently reread The Lord of the Rings, so it's fresh in my mind. It's my third time reading it, second time Fellowship, third time reading Two Towers and Return of the King. And it turns out, as Gandalf says, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many. And as it turns out, and well, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't experienced this story, you really, really ought to. There's a reason why it's such an incredible story. The message at the end with the One Ring is that it could not have been destroyed. Their entire world of Middle-earth would have fallen to darkness for forever, perhaps, for 1,000 years, at least, maybe longer, if it had not been for pity. Because it ends up being, again, I'm not going to give anything away, that the ring is only able to be destroyed because something else that is evil functions like a double negative and cancels itself out. And so it turns out that the pity of one does rule the fate of many. So we should pity these people. It's not worth it to hate them, because hate poisons us. It's not worth it. They're not worth your hatred. It's not worth you doing that to yourself, damaging yourself that way. You can feel rightfully angry about this, but don't hate them. That's my 2 cents. Walk a higher path. If you can't forgive them, okay? Try to pity them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. They're lost. They're chasing after material things. And if you know anyone who has a lot of material things, most likely they will tell you it doesn't make you happy. Ask Jim Carrey. He's been quite outspoken about that. Bless that man. I would very much like to meet him. I've always wanted to meet him. He's brought so much laughter into my life. And he's had a challenging experience. He has. Blessings upon him. And I was so upset we lost Sam Neill. Didn't realize what a cool, I knew he was cool, but all these videos of him surfacing, and I was like, I didn't realize that he was Alan Grant. Like I don't know how much he internalized that role, but how much he was like that before, but he was, what a wonderful person. What a wonderful person. And you see the contrast in legacy between someone who's actually trying to help the world heal and talk about nature and preservation, and someone who loves being outdoors and loves animals, and he's up there on his roof with his cockatoos. I think it's cockatoos, not cockatiels. Cockatiels have the really big thing. With his cockatoos and feeding them seeds, and one like pecks him and he's like, "You're not very nice, are you?" That's a very good person. And it doesn't mean that we're not able to face our shadows or can even embrace them, just be comfortable with them. People have a really strangely misguided notion of what it is to be holy. To be holy is actually to be whole. It's not living in this delusion as if it's possible to like walk this line where no one ever misbehaves or anything, or where there are not dark thoughts that occasionally will come across the mind unbidden. We can't control the flow of our thoughts. It's impossible. It happens at light speed. I want to go into this because I'd like to read and not make this too long tonight, but one of the things I've learned from 15 years of meditation practice, over 15 years, I haven't done it every single day, but I've been steadily working at it, and I go on retreats fairly regularly, and I've even taken an advanced theory course, and it's not a religious thing, which is really wonderful. It's very old. It's 2,500 years old, what I practice. It's changed my life so much for the better, so much wonderful benefit I get from it. But one of the things that I've learned, and I know this is true because I experience it in the framework of my body, just like the way I experience gravity right now, pulling me down. If someone were born, say, in orbit with no gravity, perpetually falling around the Earth, is why there's no gravity. Because you're traveling so fast, you're actually just falling around the planet. Could read every book, that person born in orbit could read every book ever written about gravity, but would understand less about it than a kitten could, because it couldn't feel it in the body. One of the things I've learned is very true, and don't take me at my word. You can experience this for yourself. Sit down, close your eyes, and breathe. Just eventually, through just investigating sensations on the body and being present with the sensations in the body, one starts to understand that my mind has four basic parts. There's the part that does the receiving of signals, like the sensory information is the apparatus by which it is received, like the ear, the eye, the the skin, the tongue, the nose. That's one. The second part is the part that recognizes the stimulus. Oh, this is music, or oh, there's crickets outside I can hear tonight, or oh, the night there were fireworks. I hope you saw that episode, or that chapter in this, or whatever, that day. Day 8. Go watch day 8. It's super awesome. I'm going to cut it into a reel, hopefully, later this evening. I want to do that. Sense the part that does the sensing, the part that recognizes the stimulus. Then there's the part that there's a feeling associated with the stimulus. We have no control over this. If there's an unpleasant smell, this 1, 2, 3 happens almost instantaneously. I cannot control having a certain feeling about a certain sound or music, or the sound of someone's voice that I love, perhaps, or something, or some harsh sound or something, or nasty words. I can't control that. That happens. I am powerless to influence that. It happens so fast. There's something pleasant or unpleasant. We have those 3 things, boom, 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 happen. The fourth part, this is where we can get involved. The reaction to the feeling about the recognition of the stimulus. The reaction, whether or not we react. If you're allergic, it's one thing, but if you ever had a bee come around, I've had experiences where, like, I'm eating colorful falafel with, like, pickled onions and things, and I'm eating, a day in Los Angeles and with people I know, and a bee is coming around, and people are getting agitated by the presence of the bee, and I'm there, and I'm like, no, watch this, because I learned this through meditating. I got stung quite a few times when I was a kid, and I didn't like bees for a while. But eventually I meditate outside, and I could feel them, I could hear them, and I could feel them, and I could feel my heart do this. And this is involuntary. This whole 1, 2, 3 part of the mind happens. And I learned this by just sitting there. And then I opened my eyes, and the bee would be on me, and I'd like, okay, the worst that can happen is I get stung. It will die if it does that. It's not a vicious creature. Now, some people have said, oh, well, what about wasps and hornets? Let's not go there. Those insects they're a little different. They're more predator mindset. They're a little tricky. But a bee is so important to our ecosystem. Bees right now, hearing things on social media, all these things, horrible things about bees, and farms for bees are getting shut down now by the government, perhaps, and oh, it's so horrible. We don't even know if these stories are true, and oh goodness, this music I just got into, I found out it was AI today. I don't think the world will ever be the same. They even have a woman that videos in the studio singing. It's totally fake. I still like the music, but I just can't believe someone, anyway, had a computer make this. But I've been there, and the bee would come, and I say, no, watch. They're like, watch out. I'm like, no, watch. And I'm eating my falafel, and I stop, and the bee lands, and it walks around, and I feel my heart race a little bit, like I don't want to get stung. But the bee will not hurt us if we don't try to hurt it first. If I try to swat the bee, what happens is, I don't realize this, but there's a subtle tension that happens when I'm doing this. Like right before I'm gonna hit the bee, the hairs on my hand or wherever it is will, and for the bee, these are big hairs because it's down here like this. There's like an electrical thing that happens. There's like this thing, it signals the bee, and the bee gets scared, and when the bee gets scared, it tenses up, and when it tenses up, it does this, and the stinger comes out and it goes right into your hand. But if I don't act first, that doesn't happen. And I've been there, and the bee walk around, the bee fly away, and the people I was with were, wow. I was like, see, it's just the universe's way of paying you a compliment. The bee thinks you're a pretty flower. Hey, do you have any pollen for me today? Oh no, okay, all right, cool, see you later. it's horrible when there are real things in the world that are threatening. And it's easy when we've been hurt for us to perceive threats where there are none. But that fourth part of the mind, the reactive part of the mind, we can choose not to react. We can just be there and breathe. Not panic, not freak out. And this is a time where, as I think I mentioned last night, it's going to now, I can't explain how I know this. I can't. I have had now, and I am still having regularly, mystical experiences that are of such a quality I can't talk about them. It's not really for anyone else anyway, but, and Khalil Gibran was right with that line from the prophet, the vision of one man lends its wings to no other. But you probably can already tell it's going to seem like it's getting crazier and crazier now, rapidly, for a while. Because the illness of our society is coming to the surface now. So when we first get sick, we first get a cold, you know this, again, you experience this in your body, you know this is true. You start feeling a little sick, and even if you started the healing process, you've taken the medicine, or you've gone and slept 10, 12, 14 hours, which I recommend is great, have a little spicy food, sleep. Or if your body tells you you don't want to eat, don't listen to, oh, you have to eat. No, you don't. Listen to your body. If you need to fast, your body will clean itself faster. Focus on killing whatever it is. That's whatever pathogens have infected it. Listen to the body. But the social illness is like we experience when we get sick. The expression of the symptoms will worsen before it gets better. And then even once the illness has passed and the immune system has been victorious in its fight against the pathogen, whatever is ailing it, the symptoms will persist for a while. So it will be with this society as we heal. So it will be. So it goes, quoth Kurt Vonnegut. So it goes. So take heart. It's okay. We don't need to panic. And for my part, I'd prefer not to get angry. It's so exhausting. It's exhausting. I mean, I got angry yesterday and I was so tired today. I almost left work early. I don't want to do that. And there was a lot to do today, but I had to take a nap before this because I was so tired. It drains me. And if you're dealing with this, even if you're spending any time with the news right now, blessings upon you. This is very hard. I've realized I've only been posting stories. I need to actually post content, like not just on the YouTube channel, but on Instagram, and hopefully help this grow. And I need to start making phone calls, but yes, okay. This is getting a little long, this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and read. Actually, I don't know, maybe this is a long video. I don't know if I should do this tonight. Maybe I'll read this tomorrow. Yeah, let's do it tomorrow because I don't want this to be like a 45-minute video, and it's something like 800 words, this poem that I've written. I've worked on it more than any other poem I've ever written, I think, and it has a bibliography. I hadn't revised it in a long time, but I just submitted it to a competition. So I revised it again. It took me a very, very long time to write, and it is 800 and minus the title, it is 818 words. That's pretty cool. That's a special number, I think. It's also an area code in Los Angeles, 818. Yeah. Yeah, I know I mentioned last night we would read this tonight, but I've talked for a while and it's been a good talk. Donald Trump, you are fired. I'm somewhat chagrined that we are not hearing more about this Convention of States option in the national conversation, and I want to inject it into the national conversation immediately, post haste. I cannot see any other way to fix this, or any more surefire way to fix this in the short term than for the states to independently gather and do it ourselves. The federal government is the problem right now. It's a problem. This beastly man in the White House is a big problem. But they're losing support very quickly, and that's why he's freaking out. He has no ability to not react. No ability. That's why weak people who realize what kind of person he is, they'll get up there and they'll say, oh, you're doing such wonderful things. Everything you do is so wonderful. And he's there, he's so beastly in his mind that there's a reason why they call it a monkey mind, this thing, this ego. Because its natural tendency when it's not trained is to be like a monkey. And I'm not calling him a monkey, I'm saying our behavior can be like that. Because its tendency is to be like, ooh, 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 things that feel good, and ooh, 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 things that feel bad. Things that it likes, ooh, ooh. And he is such an archetype of this that he's like, well, I mean, they like me, so I like them. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if they're the worst kind of people. He doesn't care. As long as they like me and let me do whatever I want to do. As long as I get to continue being a spoiled brat all my life. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you hurt people. I don't care if you butchered a journalist in 2018 and recorded it so you can listen to the screams. Here, we'll shake your hand. Even Joe Biden fist bumped that awful person, that Saudi Arabian crown prince. I despise that man, Mohammed bin Salman. Last night I talked about, I'm going to say this and I'll leave this because I didn't link the video last night. Last night I went in on the subject of the CEO of Uber. I also despise that man. That man too. His name is Dara Khosrowshahi, and he was in the Iranian Revolution of 1989. You see, pity really is the appropriate response for these people because they're such fools. So if you aren't aware, in 1989, in fact, you can see videos from early 1989 of Jimmy Carter. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, it's 1979, isn't it? 1979. Oh dear, I'm not very good with dates. I think that's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jimmy Carter was the 70s. It was Reagan in 1989. I was alive in 1989. I'm older than I look, they say. Um, yeah, it was Reagan. It was Reagan in 1989, because then it was H.W. Bush after that, and then Clinton. So, 1979, pardon me. But there's video of President Jimmy Carter with the Shah of Iran in like spring, like March 1989, I've seen. And this guy, the leader of that country at that time, had no idea that 6 months from now I'm going to be fleeing for my life, like kicked out of my own country. He had no idea. And what were they doing? The wealthy people were squeezing the poor. You see, these people are the biggest fools among us, because people like Elon Musk. You're a fool, Elon Musk, and you're a monster. Jeff Bezos, you're a fool and you've become a monster. Because the lessons of history are stark and clear, that there has never been a situation ever in which a large population was oppressed by a small, and it did not end in bloodshed. I am doing this in large part because I do not want to see that happen. I am vehemently opposed to violence of any sort. No one should ever become a source of violence. It should be the absolute last resort, only if there is no other option, and only if it is necessary to stop those who are engaging in violence against others. But this guy, Khosrow Shahi, he was a boy at that time, and his family had to flee also. They were wealthy. And I had done something about the corruption in the gig economy, as I've mentioned before, and it's very likely that I think single-handedly is a bridge too far, but I was critically involved in a raise that was given to everyone in April 2018, everyone doing a certain kind of work in Southern California. It had a major impact on me and my life. I have family members who worked in medicine. It took them decades to help tens of thousands of people, and I did it like that in a matter of weeks, standing up to this. One person can make a difference, and sometimes it's a huge difference. But I decided to start driving again. I had maxed out a lease. I think I mentioned this last night, but it's worth a reprise here. And I had negative equity. I was kind of upside down because I didn't realize I'd be driving 1,000 miles a week. And I left this corrupt situation where there was a alcoholic manager lying about our behavior to cover his behind, and I ended up getting fired over a lie, and then a month later the manager was caught stealing from the company and stealing out of the safe, and he had done it before, and they just kind of quietly showed him the door, and no one offered me my job back. I didn't understand I had a claim at that time. I could have stood up to that company, and they had been bought by Budweiser, by InBev, the biggest beverage company in the world, for $200 million. There's a place that makes beer in LA. I'm not going to say the name right now. It just said Budweiser, so that's enough. But I could have stood up for myself. And instead of just swallowing the hurt and going and spending a few months on unemployment, really getting into my meditation practice and learning to live a happy, healthy life without needing to have a drink or something at night just to sleep, which was how my life was for many years. Uber changed CEOs in 2018. And when this guy showed up on the scene, Khosrow Shahi, the new, probably focus grouped slogan of the company was, and I'll never forget, quote, "We do the right thing, period," end quote. And me being a decent sort and trusting sort of person, not wanting to assume the worst, I said, okay. So I bought a car, got rid of the lease bought a car. Car payments were absurd for a Honda Civic, a nice Honda Civic, but it was like 400 something a month. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it turned out it was worse than ever. It's worse than ever. I caught them keeping 100% of the fare from a ride and cooking the books in their own application to hide it, like it had gone out with the last payment. It said status processing. The the fare, and then once the instant payment thing was activated, then it updated, and then all the balances underneath it went to negative numbers. And if you know anything about arithmetic, it was easy to go through there and calculate it. They had just pocketed it. They wrote software, and there were people who had studied how to code for computers, and they didn't say anything. And they did this. It hurt thousands of people. And they probably paid them a lot of money and gave them a promotion, or maybe they gave them a raise because they were willing to compromise something we should never compromise. And I was paying, still am. Certain parts of my life, my finances have not completely recovered. 7 years. I didn't declare bankruptcy or anything, but 7 years still paying for what those morons did. And I'm one of tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people worldwide. Uber is an international company. And every single day, people, your neighbors, your friends, people just like you are still giving money to that company. Last I checked, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is one of their principal investors, something called the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund. And yet we still give money to it. We are to blame, in part, for how bad things have become. Because we don't move away from these shadows. The shadows grow. Uber is the single worst company I've ever encountered in my entire life. The number one most corrupt company I have ever encountered in my entire life. Amazon is up there also. I'm involved in a class action lawsuit against Amazon right now. I was offered to be a representative of the class. I talked to the lawyers in Seattle on the phone. But I had tried to work for them for one day. One time I tried to work for them in their gig economy Amazon Flex thing, doing deliveries, and it was a nightmare. They gave me an impossible task, an impossible distance to cover in morning traffic in Los Angeles. And I called on the way there, and I was like, there's no way I can go 13 miles at this time of day in under 20 minutes. It can't be done. What are you doing? Oh, just go, and when you get there, just call us back. And okay. Well, the next person was like, sorry, you didn't get there in time. I'll never work for you again. But because I disclosed that, and because the law is what it is and lawyers are what they are now, it was too risky. They said, we can't have you be a representative because you tried to work for them for one day. One period of a couple of hours. So I said, all right, it's fine. Just put me in the class. But this guy, Khosrow Shahi, anyway, back to the point. His entire life, he got chased out of his country when he was a boy. He came over here, and all he has learned, he's a middle-aged man now, all he has learned is how to cross an ocean, set up shop, and start stealing from another group of people. I pity you, Mr. Khosrow Shahi. I pity you because, like Lindsey Graham, you don't understand that your legacy will be forever tarnished. There is no brighter tomorrow where you will not be regarded as a terrible example of a businessman. Your company is extremely corrupt, and word on the street is you don't really make money. It's probably because you're paying so much of what you get to your salary and your executive's salary and your investors, and we don't make money. You're taking too much for yourselves. So pity these people today if you can. They don't know what they're doing. May they be forgiven. Yeah. I think that's it for tonight. Donald Trump, you're fired. Just wait. We're counting down. 90 days from today, I think we'll be able to rest a little easier knowing that you have gone so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs that, well, I think a prison cell is in your future. I think that's the most appropriate result for you from this situation. Okay. Oh dear. 47 minutes. Long one tonight. Okay, well, I'm going to go now. But we'll be back again tomorrow for day 12, and I will read my poem Snow Blossoms by Half-Light to you. I'd like to share that. I could always get hit by a bus tomorrow, or the day after, so why not? Been sitting on a mountain of work for a very long time. Perhaps that's a measure of my foolishness. In fact, the last person that I dated said to me one time, "It's selfish of you to be this talented and not share it with people." And I remember I went, ouch. It's like, ooh. She was right. She was right, though. Charles Bukowski used to just throw his poems out there, send them anywhere that would take them. He's a great writer. Didn't think about the outcomes. Let's not dwell on the outcomes today. Let's be here. Maybe hit like and subscribe. Subscriber count hasn't increased. It's okay. Doesn't mean there's any money involved, maybe you don't realize it. It just means that you get a little notification when something new gets posted. That's all. But it would help. You could hit like, you could hit subscribe, you could share this. Or not. Do what feels right for you. May you all experience real peace, real harmony. I wish you a restful evening. I'll see you again tomorrow.